You always felt out of place, like nobody truly understood you. Even when you sat in a crowded room, part of you still felt alone. You laughed with people. You spoke when spoken to. You tried to belong. But deep inside, you always carried the feeling that you were different. Not better. Not worse. Just different. You noticed things other people ignored. You felt things more deeply. Words stayed with you. Silence affected you. Rejection wounded you in ways nobody else could see. And there were nights when you asked me quietly, "Why am I like this?" I heard every question. I saw every hidden tear. I watched you sit alone, trying to understand why people could gather so easily, while your soul always felt distant. You thought something was wrong with you. But I need you to hear me now. Nothing was wrong with you. You were being separated. Long before you understood your purpose, I marked your life differently. That discomfort you carried was not an accident. That feeling of never fully fitting in was not punishment. I was protecting something holy inside of you. Because if you had blended in completely, you would have become like everyone who was trying to shape you. And I did not create you for imitation. I created you for calling. I know how many times you felt rejected. I know how many doors closed. I know how many friendships ended without explanation. I know how many people misunderstood your heart. You tried to love sincerely. You tried to stay loyal. You tried to be gentle. But somehow, you kept finding yourself hurt, left behind, forgotten, overlooked. And there were moments when you wondered if people only loved versions of you that were not real. I saw it. I saw the way you shrank yourself to make others comfortable. I saw the way you silenced your spirit just to avoid rejection. I saw the way you pretended to be strong while your heart quietly broke. But even in those painful seasons, I was working. Even when nobody noticed your suffering, heaven noticed. Even when nobody called your name, I still knew it. You were never abandoned. You were hidden. There is a difference. Hidden seasons feel lonely. Hidden seasons feel confusing. Hidden seasons often look like rejection. But what you called isolation, I called preparation. Because I needed to teach you how to hear my voice without depending on the noise of other people. I needed to separate you from voices that would have buried your identity. Some people were not sent to walk with you forever. Some were only mirrors, showing you what could not continue. And yes, it hurt when they left. It hurt when they betrayed you. It hurt when they ignored your value. But if I had allowed certain to remain in your life, they would have destroyed what I placed inside you. So I removed them. Not because you were unworthy, but because your future was too important. You cried over people I was protecting you from. You begged for doors to reopen that I had permanently closed. And while you mourned the loss, I was guarding your destiny. I know the loneliness was heavy. I know there were nights when your own thoughts exhausted you. Nights when you stared at the ceiling, trying to understand why your soul felt so separate from the world. You felt spiritually homeless, like your heart was searching for something deeper. That hunger was not weakness. It was evidence. Evidence that your spirit was never designed to survive on shallow things. You tried. You tried to enjoy what everyone else enjoyed. You tried to chase temporary distractions. You tried to silence the deeper calling. But nothing satisfied you for long, because your soul remembered me. Even when your mind was confused, your spirit still recognized my presence. That is why ordinary things never fully fulfilled you. You were created for depth, for intimacy, for spiritual sight, for purpose. There is a reason people could not always understand you. There is a reason you often felt emotionally intense. There is a reason you noticed hidden pain in others. I allowed your heart to break differently because I was shaping compassion inside of you. One day, people will survive because you understand pain. One day, your words will pull others out of darkness. One day, your sensitivity will stop feeling like a burden and begin revealing itself as discernment. But first, I had to train you privately. I had to remove applause. I had to remove constant validation. I had to show you who you were without the approval of. That process was painful. Sometimes you thought you were losing yourself, but you were not losing yourself. You were shedding false versions that survival created. I watched you outgrow places that once felt comfortable. I watched you disconnect from conversations that once entertained you. I watched your spirit become restless around things that were empty. You thought you were becoming strange, but you were becoming awake. There are awakenings that cannot happen in crowds. There are revelations that only arrive in solitude. There are spiritual truths that can only be heard when the world becomes quiet. And I know you hated the silence sometimes. I know the silence made you uncomfortable. Because in silence, you could no longer escape yourself. But that silence became sacred. Because it was there that I began rebuilding you. Piece by piece, layer by layer, wound by wound. You did not notice it at first. Healing rarely announces itself loudly. Sometimes healing sounds like exhaustion. Sometimes healing looks like separation. Sometimes healing feels like losing interest in what once controlled you. I was cleansing your spirit. I was untangling you from people, patterns, and emotional chains that could not follow you into your next season. And yes, that transformation cost you relation, because not everyone celebrates who you become. Some only love the version of you that required less truth. But I refused to let you remain small for the comfort of others. I refused to let your purpose die inside environments that were draining your spirit. You kept asking, why do I always end up alone? But you were asking the wrong question. The better question was, what is God building in secret? Because hidden seasons produce deep roots, and deep roots survive storms. You were never meant for shallow living. You were never meant to depend entirely on human approval. You were never meant to lose your identity inside crowds. I called you apart because your spirit carries weight, not worldly weight, eternal weight. There are things I trust you with that I cannot place inside distracted hands. So I slowed you down. I separated you. I interrupted certain paths. And when you thought your life was falling apart, I was actually redirecting you. I know how deeply rejection affected you. I know the memories that still visit your mind, the unanswered messages, the abandoned promises, the moments you gave your whole heart and received silence in return. I was there, and I need you to understand something. The rejection was not proof that you were unlovable. It was proof that not everybody had access to where I was taking you. Some people celebrated your company, but could not carry your calling. Some people enjoyed your light, but resisted your growth. Some people loved pieces of you, while fearing the depth within you. And because you craved connection, you kept trying to earn belonging. But real belonging cannot be earned through self-betrayal. I never asked you to abandon yourself just to be accepted. I never asked you to shrink your spirit so others would stay. You lost people because your soul was evolving. And evolution makes certain connections uncomfortable. Do not hate yourself for becoming different. You prayed for transformation. This is part of the answer. I know you feared the loneliness, but loneliness became the classroom where your spirit learned dependence on me. Before, you depended too heavily on emotional reassurance from people. Their opinions shaped your peace. Their attention shaped your confidence. Their presence shaped your emotions. So I allow seasons where people became distant, not to destroy you, but to teach you that your identity must be rooted deeper Because people change. Crowds shift. Applause disappears. But my voice remains. My presence remains. My calling remains. And I wanted you to become stable in a world full of instability. That is why your process looked different. That is why your journey felt lonely. That is why your spirit often felt misunderstood. You were being trained. Not publicly. Privately. Quietly. Deeply. There were nights when I sat with you in silence, while nobody else knew your pain. You thought nobody cared. But heaven leaned close. I counted every tear. I heard every sigh. I watched every moment. You almost gave up. And still, you survived. Do you understand how powerful that is? You survived seasons that should have destroyed your faith. You survived emotional battles that nobody even knew existed. You survived hidden warfare. And the reason you survived is because my hand never left you. Even when you felt numb, I was still carrying you. Even when your prayers became weak, I was still listening. Even when your hope flickered, I was still near. You kept thinking that because your life looked delayed, your purpose must be absent. But hidden does not mean forgotten. Seeds spend time underground before anyone sees growth. And you, my beloved, have been growing in secret. Your roots became stronger through pain. Your discernment became sharper through disappointment. Your spirit became deeper through isolation. What broke others began building wisdom inside you. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not broken because you needed solitude. You are not strange because your spirit longs for more. You were created differently. And the difference frightened people who only understood surface things. But I understand you completely. I understand the way your heart works. I understand why you withdraw sometimes. I understand why certain environments drain your energy. I understand why your soul aches for meaning. Because I designed you that way. You carry spiritual sensitivity. And spiritual sensitivity often feels heavy before it becomes clear. You sense things others ignored. You felt atmospheres shift. You noticed hidden intentions. You could feel pain behind smiles. And because you could feel deeply, you often became overwhelmed. But sensitivity is not your enemy. Unhealed pain distorted it. Fear exhausted it. Rejection confused it. Yet even through all of that, I was refining you. Not destroying you. Refining you. Gold passes through fire, not because it is worthless, but because it is valuable. And your process has been refining fire. You wondered why your life never seemed simple, why your emotions felt intense, why your spiritual hunger never disappeared, why ordinary living felt empty. It is because your spirit remembers that you were created for more than survival. You were created for encounter, for purpose, for transformation, for impact. I know there were moments when you envied people who seemed happier, louder, more accepted. You compared your hidden battles to their visible smiles, but you did not see what I was building in you. Depth takes time. Strength takes process. Wisdom takes breaking. And I was building something eternal inside your spirit. There are people who only know how to perform. But I wanted you authentic. There are people who only know how to impress crowds. But I wanted your heart. There are people who build image. But I was building character. So yes, your road became narrow. Yes, your circle became smaller. Yes, you spent nights alone, wondering where you belonged. But you were never abandoned. You were being positioned. Because where I am taking you, you cannot carry everyone. Not everybody can walk into the next chapter. Some people only belong to old versions of you. And if they stayed, they would constantly pull you backward. So I separated you. Painfully sometimes. Silently sometimes. Unexpectedly sometimes. But purpose often requires separation. I needed your attention. I needed your spirit uncluttered. I needed you free enough to hear me. And now, slowly, you are beginning to understand. The loneliness taught you discernment. The rejection taught you identity. The silence taught you intimacy. The isolation taught you endurance. The heartbreak taught you wisdom. Nothing was wasted. Not one tear. Not one sleepless night. Not one disappointment. I was weaving meaning through all of it. Even now, there are parts of you still healing. There are memories that still ache. There are questions that remain unanswered. But healing is already moving through you. Can you feel it? The old need for constant approval
My Lord,
is fading.
accept this moment
The fear of being alone is weakening. The desperation to fit in is losing power. Why? Because you are finally beginning to see yourself through my eyes. And when you see yourself through my eyes, you stop measuring your worth through human acceptance. You begin understanding that your difference was intentional. You begin realizing that your spirit was never meant to sleep through life. You begin accepting that your calling required separation. You begin trusting that what felt like rejection was often divine protection. There were conversations I prevented, relationships I interrupted, opportunities I blocked, places I removed you from, because your future mattered too much for me to leave you unguarded. You saw loss. I saw rescue. You saw abandonment. I saw redirection. You saw delay. I saw preparation. And now, I need you to stop apologizing for who you are becoming. Stop apologizing for needing depth. Stop apologizing for protecting your... Stop apologizing for outgrowing environment that suffocate your spirit. Stop apologizing for hearing my voice differently. You are not here to imitate darkness. You are here to carry light. And light often stands alone before others recognize it. There is a reason you survived what broke you. There is a reason you still feel a calling pulling on your spirit. There is a reason you cannot fully return to who you used to be, because transformation already began. The old version of you cannot contain where I am leading you. You are stepping into deeper identity, deeper clarity, deeper spiritual authority. And yes, that transition feels uncomfortable. Growth often does. But do not fear the discomfort. New seasons always require new understanding. You are not lost. You are evolving. I know there were times when you almost gave up on yourself. Times when exhaustion became overwhelming. Times when you wondered if you would ever truly belong anywhere. Listen to me carefully. You do belong. You belong with me first. And from that place, I will guide the right people towards you. Not people who only tolerate your spirit. People who recognize it. People who honor it. People who grow with it. You will no longer beg for spaces that cannot hold your calling. You will no longer chase validation from emotionally unavailable people. You will no longer confuse attention with love, because wisdom is awakening inside you. You are learning the difference between connection and attachment, between peace and performance, between purpose and distraction. And the more you awaken, the less you will fear standing apart, because you will finally understand why I separated you. I separated you because your assignment required clarity. I separated you because your spirit needed strengthening. I separated you because your heart carried purpose. I separated you because your future required protection. And now, what once felt like punishment will begin revealing itself as preparation. You are entering a season where the hidden work becomes visible. The wisdom you gained in silence will guide others. The compassion formed through suffering will heal others. The endurance born through loneliness will strengthen others. Your story was never meaningless. Your pain was never empty. Your separation was never random. I was writing something deeper, something eternal, something that required time. So stop despising your process. Stop grieving every closed door. Stop romanticizing versions of yourself that were built from fear. You are not behind. You are being prepared precisely. And the version of you emerging now is stronger than you realize. You carry discernment. You carry wisdom. You carry resilience. You carry spiritual hunger. You carry compassion. You carry depth. These are not accidents. These are marks of preparation. I know your journey felt different, but different does not mean forgotten. Different does not mean cursed. Different does not mean unwanted. Sometimes different means chosen. Chosen for deeper understanding. Chosen for spiritual maturity. Chosen for transformation. Chosen for purpose. And I know the word chosen frightened you before, because your process felt painful. But chosen people are often prepared privately. Before they speak publicly, they learn silence. Before they guide others, they learn surrender. Before they carry wisdom, they experience breaking. And you, my beloved, have been learning all of these things. Not because I wanted to harm you, but because I refused to let your calling remain shallow. One day, you will look back and realize the loneliness saved you. You will realize the rejection redirected you. You will realize the isolation deepened you. You will realize the silence introduced you. And suddenly, what once looked like abandonment will reveal itself as divine guidance. You were never alone, even when nobody texted, even when nobody checked on you, even when nobody understood you. I remained. I stayed. I listened. I carried you through nights when your own thoughts frightened you. I covered you when exhaustion consumed your mind. I protected you from choices that would have destroyed your future. You think you survived by accident, but grace kept pulling you forward. Even in your weakest moments, my hand remained over your life. And now, I need you to rise differently. Not with arrogance, with awareness. Awareness that your life has meaning. Awareness that your pain produced wisdom. Awareness that your separation carried purpose. Awareness that your spirit was never ordinary. You spent too long calling yourself broken when heaven called you becoming. You spent too long calling yourself unwanted when I called you protected. You spent too long calling yourself isolated when I called you prepared. Do you see it now? The pieces are beginning to connect. The confusion is slowly lifting. The hidden shaping is becoming visible. You are not who you were, and you cannot return there, because your spirit has already tasted deeper truth. The old environments feel too small now. The old distractions feel empty now. The old patterns feel exhausting now. Why? Because growth changed your appetite. You are hungry for authenticity, for peace, for purpose, for truth, for me. And that hunger will lead you correctly. Do not suppress it. Do not numb it. Do not abandon it, just because others fail to understand it. The world will always try to convince you to become smaller. But I am calling you deeper. Deeper into identity. Deeper into healing. Deeper into purpose. Deeper into spiritual maturity. And yes, the deeper path is often lonely at first. But loneliness will not define your ending. You are entering a season where alignment will replace the right people will begin finding you. The right opportunities will begin opening. The right clarity will begin emerging. Not because you forced it, but because you were finally ready for it. Preparation always comes before revelation. And your preparation has been long. Long nights. Long battles. Long waiting. Long silence. But the waiting was not empty. Roots were growing. Character was forming. Wisdom was deepening. Identity was stabilizing. And now, What was built privately will begin strengthening others publicly. You thought your sensitivity made you weak, but your sensitivity will help people feel seen. You thought your loneliness made you forgotten, but your loneliness taught you intimacy with me. You thought your rejection meant failure, but your rejection redirected you away from counterfeit connections. You thought your difference was a curse, but your difference is part of your assignment. Do not run from it anymore. Embrace who you are becoming. Embrace the depth. Embrace the wisdom. Embrace the discernment. Embrace the healing. Embrace the calling. You do not need to become louder to become valuable. You do not need to perform to become worthy. You do not need to chase crowds to become important. What I placed inside you already carries purpose, and in the coming days, you will begin noticing changes. Your peace will become stronger, your discernment sharper, your boundaries healthier, your confidence quieter but deeper. You will stop chasing people who repeatedly dishonor your spirit. You will stop begging for understanding from those committed to misunderstanding you. You will stop abandoning yourself for temporary acceptance, because healing changes standards and wisdom changes desires. You are not here merely to survive life. You are here to awaken, to heal, to transform, to carry light, to speak life, to love deeply without losing yourself, to stand in truth without fear. And the very things that once made you feel different will eventually become evidence of what I placed inside you. Your story is not ending in confusion. It is ending in clarity, not ending in rejection, ending in alignment, not ending in isolation, ending in purpose. The loneliness was never your identity. It was only a season, a sacred season, a shaping season, a hidden season. But hidden seasons do not last forever. Morning eventually reaches every night, and you are closer to breakthrough than you realize. I know you still carry scars, but scars are proof that healing continued after pain. Do not be ashamed of your process. Do not hate the years that shaped your spirit. Those years built endurance. Those years built wisdom. Those years built discernment. Those years taught you how to hear me clearly. And now, I am calling you forward. Forward without shame. Forward without pretending. Forward without shrinking. Forward with truth. Forward with identity. Forward with purpose. You are not too much. You are not impossible to understand. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are being led. Even now, especially now, the separation had purpose. The loneliness carried preparation. The rejection carried protection. And your difference carries calling. So rise, not as the person who spent years begging to belong. Rise as the person who finally understands why they were set apart. Because you were never created to disappear inside the crowd. You were created to carry something eternal. And I have been preparing you for it all along.